Welcome back to 3.3, and now we're in part 2, and we're going to pick up where we left off, which is in quartiles. So a quartile sounds a lot like a quarter, and that's exactly what it does with the data. It divides it into quarters. So if we have our data and we divide it into 50%, that's going to be our Q2, or our median. And then if we were to divide it further into 25%, that's going to give us our Q1 and our Q3. So we're essentially dividing our data up into a bunch of medians. Now, if we wanted to talk about it in terms of percentiles, remember that the percentile describes the percent below. So below Q1 is 25%, so this would be the 25th percentile. Below Q2 would be the 50th percentile, because that's how much is below. And below Q3 is 75%, so that's the 75th percentile. There's several statistics we can get using quartiles and percentiles, but the one that we use the most is the interquartile range. So when we talk about this kind of data, we usually talk about it in terms of the 5-number summary. To get a 5-number summary, we need the minimum data value and the maximum. And then we need Q1, Q2, and Q3. And how we get that is by essentially doing a bunch of medians. Oops. So first, when we're looking for medians, we order the data. So our first step will be to order the data. Find the median. Two things can happen when we find the median. The median can be one data value, or it can be two data values that we have to add together and divide by 2. If we have one data value, we're going to exclude it. And if we end up with 2 data values, we'll include them. And I'm going to do an example so you can see. But then you just repeat the process, finding the median of the lower half and the median of the upper half. So actually, let me just do a quick example here. If I have just a couple data points, let's make that 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm trying to find the median of these, I would go low, high, and then I would get these 2 here. If I had 2 data value points and I'm looking for the Q1, I'm going to include them like this and then find the median above and below. If I only have an odd number and I get to the median and it's the actual number, I'm not going to include it. And I'm going to do some examples so you can see what I mean by that. So we need to find the 5-number summary. To find the 5-number summary, we need the minimum and the maximum, which I always like to grab first because those can be pretty easy. So we need the Q1, Q2, Q3, and the max. So I can see that the minimum is 0.8. And then I can see that the max is 77.8 because it's already in order. Now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to find the median. So low, high, low, high, low, high. And I am going to just do this, speed it up, and then let you guys catch up with that. Okay, so finding the median here, I see that we've got 2 data values, 13.7 and 14.1. When I add them together and divide by 2, I get 13.9. So my Q2 is 13.9. Because I have 2 data values, I include them in both the lower and upper. If I didn't have 2, if I just had 1, I would not include it. Remember this example here? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the median of from 0.8 all the way to 13.7. So low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high. And you just keep going until you end up in the middle. And we should end up with 7.9. And then we'll do that again, and let's get a different color because it's getting a little crazy. So we're going from 14.1 to 77.8. So low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high. And you just keep going until you find your next median. And we get 21.5. So my Q1 is 7.9 and my Q3 is 21.5. And that is the 5-number summary. Go ahead and give it a try on your own. It's actually a lot easier when you have just one line across. So again, if you end up with 2 medians like two numbers that you're going to use to find the median, then let's just say you ended up with these two here, you would include them both. And if you end up with just the one, let's say it's this one here, you would not include it and use the other two. Let's go ahead and give that one a try. And I've shown you how I do that here in the solution, and that is the 5-number summary. So now let's go ahead and graph the 5-number summary on a box plot. To construct a box plot, we really need the 5-number summary. We need it like a number line. And then we go ahead and put the data values on there. So let's look at example 6 again. So we already know the 5-number summary. I'm just going to repeat it here. We know that the min is 0.8. The Q1 is 7.9, Q2 is 13.9, Q3 is 21.5, and our max is 77.8. So I'm going to draw my number line, and I go from essentially 0 to 80, so I'll probably go by tens here. 0, 10, 20, that was not very good. Let's try that again. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. I'm going to put dots at the min and the max. So that's almost to 0 and that's almost to 80. And then I'm going to draw lines on each Q1, Q2, Q3. So 7.9 is about there, 13.9, and 21.5. Now I'm going to connect all my lines. And in the middle of the box, I'm going to grab those whiskers. And that's how you construct a box and whisker plot. And you can see here that you should label each data value and then label the min Q1, Q2, Q3. And then you go ahead and give it a try. Same 5-number summary as before. And that is the box and whisker plot, or the box plot. So this is an example and a you try, so go ahead and press pause if you want to try it on your own. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at these 4 different box plots. And so we can actually learn a lot about the different data. So the Verizon speeds are more spread out. Look how far away the min and the max are. They're the most spread out. And so we can say that the length of that box plot shows us that the data speeds are vary more than the others. We can also say that they maybe have some outliers that are super, super fast. We can also say that most of Sprint's data is pretty similar because it's all close together and it's really slow. We can also say that they probably also have some outliers that are really fast as well, comparatively, not as fast as Verizon. AT&T data speeds are pretty similar. We're all kind of looking in the same range, but it does have some outliers. And then T-Mobile, it varies the least. The data is the closest altogether. It's like the shortest box plot, so it's not that spread out. A box plot can be skewed. We just kind of saw that if it's not symmetric or extends to one or the other side. All right, so now let's look at the TI-84. How can we build these in our calculator? So the great news is that we can actually get a 5-number summary from that one variable statistics that we learned previously. And then we can do box plots similar to how we did histograms. So let's look at this example here, example 8. So I'm going to pull up my calculator. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to press stat. We're going to go and edit, make sure our list is in place. And I did already put this data in L1. And then I'm going to go back to stat then, into calc, and one variable statistics. My data is actually in L1. And so it's really important, if you want to get to L1, it's blue 1. So you click the blue button and then 1, and then enter, and then, oops, we'll do it again. And then if you scroll to the bottom here, look at that. Minimum, Q1, median, Q2, Q3, max. So your calculator can actually give you the 5-number summary. And there it is. Go ahead and give it a try. I recommend putting it in L2 because we're going to actually reuse L1, the example. So put this data into L2 and then press play when you're ready to see the answer. And there we go. So we're going to go back to our Verizon speed and build a box plot in our calculator. So we know that our data is already in L1. So we're going to hit second y equals. We're going to enter to get into our plot. We're going to make sure it's on. It is on. And we're going to go over to the second box and whisker plot, not the ones with the 2 little dots. We're going to hit enter. And our X list is in L1, so that's the blue 1 button. And we're going to hit enter. And let's see what happens here. We're going to go into zoom, click 9 or go down to zoom stat. And there's our box and whisker plot or box plot. And if you want to see the information, click trace. And then if you go left and right, you can see the min, the Q1, the median, and so on. And you give it a try with your data. And there we go. And that concludes section 3.3.